All right, boys and girls, Andrew Bopro's here. I want to do a video on Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco's ending words to the fans. Obviously, I want to also highlight Arizona Bowl Club. I've down in Arizona right here with James and having a good time, and it's been interesting. It's been interesting seeing a lot of these fans down here, and it was a tough game to watch together with a bunch of people that I really love and respect, and so it was tough. It was really hard, but it is what it is, guys, right? So let's get into the notes. Let's talk about what we should expect for next season. Guys, I know it's hard to have that conversation. Trust me, James, Kyle, and I are going through layers. Oh, we got a new subscriber. Thanks, Casey. Good to see you. Going through layers of therapy because of that game. And oh my God, I mean, it's just been so rough. So, one of the things that I keep thinking about is just how poorly we just did the second half. And they addressed it pretty heavily in this interview and, year ending, conversations, right? So let's get into it, guys. I'm kind of excited to read, a little bit about what Tom Telesco said. I'm skimmed through it a little bit, but I kind of want to give you my first thoughts, my first opinions on it. So let's go from there. So Tom Telesco, let me move my guy around here a little bit here. I like this a little bit nicer. Okay, there we go. So Tom, there was one thing that really mattered to him, and I'm going to go into that a little bit. Obviously he talks about disappointing season. Yeah, it was disappointing, right? Like guys, I expected a Super Bowl run, right? And again, we did do a Super Bowl jog, maybe. Definitely not a run, not a sprint. But, we weren't supposed to lose to the Jags. I mean, it is what it is. And that one was, lose in spectacular fashion like the Chargers tend to love to do. But again, it's a disappointing end of the season. He says it exactly correct. 10-7, lose opening week. It just wasn't good, right? I mean, we don't really want to go too deep into that, right? One of the things that he did say here that I really wanted to highlight, and look, I'm just going to say this. I understand it's 100% within your right to be upset and angry and frustrated, angry with the organization, hate Telesco, hate Staley. I get it. We put a lot of effort into this. And I was just talking to James about this and actually Kyle on the phone today. And, we put a lot of effort into this channel and it's hard. It's hard when you put so much effort in something that you love and you feel like you get left down. Right. But again, bottom line, guys, it's just a game. It's a sport. It is a way of life, and it's something that we've, really kind of built our lives around to some degree, and I know you guys have as well too, right? So look, it's okay to feel that way, but, Telesco specifically said this, like our fan base is dying for a championship, just like we are. So you have that little feeling of letting people down. And, I will say this, our current team of players and our coaches, they're mentally tough people, and that's not by accident, it's intentional. Those are the type of people that we bring in here. And, look, as much as we're feeling bad, you have to understand this is their career, their job. Their whole point is to get a championship. And yes, we feel bad. Yes, we feel bad. But I promise you they feel bad too, because that's their whole life. That's 110% their entire life is what they're doing right here. Anyways, I don't know if I want to beat a dead horse on that again, but just understand that it's not easy. It's not simple, right? It's not easy to win in the NFL. And I do believe that, right? I mean, teams are good. These are the best, and they're the best coaches, the best players, it's difficult, any given Sunday, we all know that, right? So anyways, it's important to us to, withstand these type of things, right? Especially leading into the offseason, right? I mean, because bottom line, what if we just crumble, right? And again, Brandon Staley talks quite a bit about this a little later on. I don't want to go too deep into what he said, but the season could have gone very pear-shaped very quickly, and it didn't. It's clear that Staley has the locker room. It's clear they're behind Telesco. And I think this is the best way of saying it. We're going to lick our wounds a bit here, then rise and fight again. We have a whole offseason to figure out what we got to do with that. Now, I've always said this again, by the way, this is this man's 10th year with this organization. So as I go into this, what are your thoughts? Should Telesco still be our general manager? What are your thoughts, right? Should he be let go? I want to hear your thoughts on that. because I think it's something to be discussed. To me, I think he's been fine. But I'm going to go into this. This is partially why I'm bringing this up. Is he does have a strong connection with Brandon Staley, and I'm a big believer that the general manager and the coach need to be in lockstep with one another. Okay, and they seem to be, from what I can tell. Okay, and I think that's a good thing, right? So they're entering year 3 together. And anytime you work with these people, you get smoother, more efficient. And I think they have very similar ways of thinking and processing information, right? Which is a good thing. So, if you recall Marty Schottenheimer, right? He was 14-2 and got let go. Well, AJ Smith was the GM there. They did not like each other, right? So I think what had happened at that point, AJ Smith won the battle with the Spanos family to get Marty Schottenheimer fired. That's exactly what happened. And so you have to sit back and ask yourself this question. Okay, but I like when the GM and the coach are in lockstep with one another. I think it's a better cohesiveness. They can work together, have communications together, make decisions together. So at any rate, I think it's pretty good. And it's clear that, again, you're like the Bolt Bros, right? We disagree on a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things we disagree on. I mean, I think Kyle definitely doesn't want Staley and Telesco around. I'm a little in the middle with both of them right now. I kind of do believe that 3 years is really what a head coach should have, but you can make an argument that Telesco's been here 10 years and look at where we stand, right? So he's had his time, and he's hired people and they haven't worked. And so, I could see the argument maybe letting Telesco go. But, again, really with the way Staley has run this team, Staley really is the general manager for the most part. I think really Telesco is just sort of there to go get the guys that he wants. And this guy's in free agency. We want him, yada, yada, right? So anyways, again, Staley's got 19-5 in regular season. He's 0-1 in the postseason. That's kind of what we care about. But again, it's a really interesting situation. Belief from Brandon Staley has not changed. He's a fighter, right? And he is, right? I mean, look, survived cancer, all the above, right? Anyways, whole support. Figuring out the puzzle. Don't expect Telesco to take any vacation in the coming months. In fact, he'll be pretty busy. He'll be focused on the draft. He'll be focused on all these different things, right? Again, I actually think he's probably going to be doing a lot of player visits and all that. It's going to be tough. We see the season, right? As a content creator, we're going to be doing less videos probably because the season's not occurring right now, right? They'll ramp up more because of obviously, preseason and draft and so on and so forth. But again, this is the off season for us, right? For the most part, their off season, they don't really have an off season, right? I mean, they're still scouting players and meeting with players, talking free agents and having conversations, right? So I mean, it's a daily grind for these guys, right? And Brandon Staley's included in that. And again, figuring out a game plan for these guys. What do they need to do to get better? Getting people into camps, right? All right. I mean, if you look at Pipkins went to some camps and that's how he got good, right? I mean, there's a very limited amount of time that these guys have to actually be with the staff and actually work together. I mean, during the season, it's different, but in the off season, it's not, right? So, there's a lot of work that these guys are doing behind the scenes, a lot of things they have to do, right? Okay. Players have to go do it on their own. And so, it's pretty interesting. So, anyways, so you're going to be focused on the draft and all these other things here. Free agency is a big part of it too. I don't want to go too deep into Telesco's, I don't know. To some degree, I kind of feel like Telesco is there. Yes, he's running a job. I feel like the person that really is running the team more than anything is really Brandon Staley for the most part. But, again, he does a lot of the back office work for Brandon Staley. But I think Brandon Staley directs him on what he wants him to do and what he wants him to look for. And they have conversations specifically about what they want to do. Now, again, the offensive coordinator search is going to be very interesting. We're going to be doing a lot of videos on that. There's a lot of speculations. I don't want to go too deep into this, but we are going to start up our lives on Sunday again. And the way we're going to do the form, I just want to talk about that for just a sec. The way we're going to do our formats on that is that we'll have a designated time. If one of the Bolt Bros can't make it, we'll try and bring on a special guest for that weekly live video. We would like to do one on Friday. Can't do it Fridays most of the time. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward. But again, we're working on those sort of formats moving forward. Anyways, the OC search will be interesting. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about this a lot more. Again, I do not want a Joe Lombardi 2.0. Okay. I said this in my video. I do not want a guy that's similar to Joe Lombardi or runs the same offense as the Saints or whatever, right? There's a lot to be said about getting somebody in here differently. I know the offensive coordinator for the Ravens left the Ravens, and James seems to be very high on him. Good thing about him is he understands the running game, right? He understands, pushing the ball forward, right? And I think there's some good synergies there, right? There's a lot of things you're going to talk about there. Anyways, I don't really want to talk too much about what he says here. There's a lot to be said about. I think really Brandon Staley had a more cohesive message to everybody here. So, anyways, want to go into this. Really, I think our rookies did really great. I know a lot of people like to criticize Telesco for having really bad draft picks, but I'll be honest with you, man. Zion Johnson was an absolute stud. Sadly, we didn't see much of Isaiah Spiller this year, but really interesting to see what happens there. JT Woods, those are probably the only two that really didn't see a lot of playing time, which is kind of odd, right? But JT Woods is also a safety. You'll probably see him next year. So I would suspect that JT Woods is probably going to be doing a lot of camps and getting himself ready for this next season, because that's really when we need him moving forward, because I don't think we'll sign. I believe it's Nas. I think we have Lowe for one more year, but I don't think we're going to sign. I don't think we're going to sign Nas again. Again, there you go. This is exactly what it says. JT and Isaiah, this will have a big offseason for these guys. They didn't get as much snaps a rookie year. Zion, really happy with him. He's had his ups and downs. He was overall solid, guys. I mean, it's very difficult to step in, and go from there. And again, one of the guys I would definitely say is Jamari Sawyer, man. I mean, right here, a sixth rounder. And, and he fell so far down. I mean, he was supposed to be, I remember reading a mock draft that he was supposed to go like third or fourth round at the latest. We're talking the latest, but he went all the way down there, which is just crazy. And, just an absolute stud, right? So interesting to see, where he ends up maybe on the right side when Slater comes back next year. And so that'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. So, as I don't want to go too deep into this, I kind of felt like, a lot of his, general information wasn't super interesting. I didn't really sit back and go, wow, okay, that was incredible. So let's go into Telesco's takeaways, and then I'll briefly go through his overall transcript. It's pretty lengthy. And again, I put the links in the description below, so you guys definitely go watch these on your own time. If you haven't seen them, see them, because look, if you're a fan, you really need to see these. You need to see what they're saying. You need to see what they're explaining, how they're explaining things, why they're explaining things a certain way that they are, because it does matter, right? Context matters. The way they're, saying things matters. But again, so let's see some of the 5 takeaways. Final message. We definitely improved as a franchise this season. So I want to ask you, do you think we improved as a franchise this season? So put your thoughts down below. We took a step as a franchise. We earned ourselves a spot in the tournament, which they did. I'm frustrated as anybody as a Charger fans what happened. And there's some truth, right? Again, last year we were 9-8. This year 10-7. Yes, we got better. Hell, if we beat the Raiders, we would have been 10-7 and gone to the playoffs, right? Unfortunately, we didn't do the field goals. And again, it was just really frustrating, right? So he did ask this, what would you tell the fans? I'm just really disappointed, as they are. I'm really excited to get this process started, because just like last year, we had made a lot of big improvements on our football team and gave us a chance to compete for the championship. And I agree with that, guys. Again, I've said this before. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to win in the NFL. It always is. It's never easy. It's never simple. And again, you still got a young quarterback. You still got you got a lot of rookies out there. You got all these different things. And again, you can point a lot of fingers and say it's Staley's fault, it's Telesco's fault. Look, it's hard to win, but boy, that was just spectacular fashion, losing to the Jags that way. It's almost impossible to forget that type of pain, when you have like a brain tumor and it's going to kill you. And it's like, oh God, I'm a Charger fan. That's how it is. Right. So, oh my God. Anyways, but again, we sit back and just say to ourselves, okay, that's what we are. And we just lose in spectacular fashion. So I don't know, but it is what it is. And, we keep making type of progress. And I think there's some truth to that. Like, I really do believe that the marriage between Telesco and Staley is a very good one. I think they're very good at communicating on what they want together, what they like, and what this organization does well. Now, and it's interesting because we haven't had a lot of off the field problems, right? The only one that I can think of this season was JC Jackson. And, that guy clearly frustrated, all these different things happened to him, blew his knee out, unhappy. I'm sure he's, in a tough spot, right? He wants to play football and he's frustrated, and it is what it is, right? I mean, bottom line, I'm sure it's not in a good headspace, but it's tough. It's really tough. This wild card loss was really hard. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep into that anymore because it's just, it's old news. And I don't want to keep reliving, this frustration. Second half, it was a unique fact that we weren't these catastrophic big plays. We didn't turn the ball over. We're giving up these killer big plays. We gave up long passes, special team errors. It's just, they didn't play good. They lost in all three phases of the game the second half. That's exactly what happened. It got tight, became a dogfight, and they just, I think Kyle Van Noy said it the best. We choked. We just did not execute. And again, I asked myself this question: why is Lombardi not here? Right? I really truly believe it's really the second half production of every game this whole season was so poor. Like, there was no adjustments in any way, shape, or form. And again, you do have to give it up for the Jags. They did a great job the second half. They executed what they did. And they had to play almost a near perfect second half to win, and they did. Okay? But we made our own errors. Bosa throwing his helmet on the ground. Okay? Penalty. Offside that one time where we had a sack. Penalty. First down. I mean, Kyle Van Noy has the ball hit him right in his hands. Could have caught that. Game over. Done deal. Doesn't happen. I mean, the list goes on and on. Oh, that bandy sweep that they did, and it was designed for DeAndre Carter. Didn't work out. Just a litany or cacophony of errors that just, catastrophically destroyed us the second half. And again, it is what it is, right? So we didn't make enough winning plays the second half. And again, and this is really the truth, right? It starts with me in all three phases, and again, I need to coach better in all three phases, and again, I like that he's taking responsibility, but it still doesn't make us feel better as fans, right? Of course. I think that's really where it's difficult, right? It's difficult to post blame because, look, at the end of the day, the coaches aren't out there making plays. Okay. I play sports. I have 3 softball bats right here. I got a couple pickleball paddles. I play a lot of sports. And when you make errors, you make errors. That's your fault, right? If the coach is on the sidelines, he didn't make that error. He put you in that position. He believed in you that you can make that play, but you didn't make the play, right? Who's to blame, the player or the coach? I would argue the player, right? And so the players lost that game. And, I think every player would say the exact same thing. I mean, I just think, Drew Tranquil said it perfectly. He's like, this one's going to take a lot of time to come back from, right? I mean, it was tough. So, but here's the thing. And here's really where Staley, I think, is big. And this is where I think he deserves at least one more season. Now, again, we don't make the playoffs. I think it's hit the road, Jack. I mean, it just really is, because bottom line, he's created a very good culture here, and players want to be here, and players clearly like Brandon Staley. And again, Justin Herbert said very clearly, we believe in the front office and we believe in Brandon Staley. Notice he didn't mention Joe Lombardi. There's a lot of talk about losing the locker room, all this and that. Well, I truly believe that if anything, Joe Lombardi lost the locker room on the offensive side of the ball. I could see that. I think that a lot of his play calling was very vanilla. I'm going to go into that a little bit more detail specifically, but there's a lot going on. as far as the offensive coordinator. It sounds to me like, and I'll go into a little bit later on when we talk more about it on his larger notes, but you know, it's good to see the culture going the right direction, right? And again, these things take time, right? And this guys, this franchise has a bit of a dark cloud or curse, whatever you want to use over it, that we tend to lose. But we have a generational talent quarterback, and we just really need an offensive coordinator that can really get him to the next level. And I think that's the biggest problem with Lombardi, right? Is that he didn't. But Staley, as a head coach, has done a good job of creating the correct culture. Now, what we need to do is fine tune and fix the areas that we're deficient in. And right now, second half of the season was the offense. We were pretty bad the second half. We really were not that good. So it's pretty tough. I don't want to go too deep into this. I'm going to go to the longer I'm going to go to longer notes, right? Room for growth. Staley talks quite a little bit about this. Again, it's clear that he focuses on how to coach better, how to communicate better. He's very good at that, right? I mean, he's very eloquent in what he says. It starts with me and relationships. And again, you have to live that mission and see that through. And I really do believe that Staley is he has the right mentality to be an NFL head coach. Now, where we want him to bring us a championship now. And that's a fan. That's a fan wanting that. But the problem is it takes time for things to start working as an organization. And that's the hard part about it, right? And I know we want instant gratification. We all do, right? It's getting worse and worse. Look at the internet, look at anything. You want information? Great. Let's Google it real quick. Well, championships take time. And that's the unfortunate truth that we have to accept, guys. I mean, it takes time. It takes time to build the right team. And I've always said this, year 3 is the team that Staley has put together because he's going to pick and choose. He picked and choose first year, kind of took what he had, did the best he could. Second year, took what he had, did the best he could. Third year, it's pretty much his team at that point, right? So if his team does not succeed or make the playoffs, he's definitely on the chopping block, in my opinion, right? Again, so pretty interesting conversation there. So anyways, I don't want to talk about that. Some injury updates are kind of interesting here. So, and then we'll go into Brandon Staley's larger notes. I'll skim through them quite a bit. It's pretty extensive, but I'll skim through the parts that I want to talk about, or I haven't fully covered. JC Jackson, again, he's trying to come back, obviously for next season, but again, it's, ruptured patella tendon is not a good thing. I mean, it's tough. Clearly whatever happened with his personal life, it's been cleared up. It doesn't seem like it's a major issue at this point, but a little odd. So anyways, interesting to see how he does. Now, one of the interesting things that we'll talk about, Michael Davis got hurt, and he was the number 1 cornerback in the league rating wise last season. So you have to ask yourself this question: is Mike Davis coming back? Because I think it was his last season. I think it was one of his, I think it was his last contract year. So interesting to see if Mike Davis comes back this next season. But again, he killed it, right? But I think this was a huge injury. He suffered a pectoral injury a few minutes into the third quarter. And again, from there, it just declined. Everything went Jacksonville's way. We lost Jamari. We lost Mike Davis. We lost DeAndre Carter, right? I mean, these are all things that contributed to this loss. And it's like, and again, I could see the argument where, as a fan, you'd say, well, wait a second. Okay, that doesn't matter. It's next man up. That person should step in and and do that job just as good, if not better, or at least don't blow the game. Well, he got blown up a couple times, right? He missed a few plays. He came in for Davis. Davis is a very good cornerback. And so it'll be interesting to see. And again, Staley says he doesn't know if they need to do surgery on it yet. So very interesting to see what's going to happen there with that. I mean, personally, I think the Chargers will re-sign him, but they got a lot of hard decisions to make because, they're still looking at Herbert. Usually year 3 is when Herbert or quarterback gets picked up. So let's look at the larger notes. I mean, this is very lengthy, and I don't want to go through all of it because I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the things that make sense. So again, Brandon Staley is our coach. Like it or not, he's our guy. By the way, I think he looks better with a hat on. I didn't really like his hair this way. I was like, wow, it looks really interesting. Very wavy, kind of strange, but anyhow. Keep a hat on, Brandon. I'm just going to say, just little personal advice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Brandon Staley. Our traits that he's looking for an offensive coordinator candidate. So this is interesting. So I want to say, and I kept this at the end here because I think this is probably one of the most interesting things that came out of this. Justin Herbert is going to be involved in the decision for the offensive coordinator, and I think the first time I heard that was with Kyler Murray when they let go of Cliff Kingsbury. And I thought, man, Kyler Murray is dumb as a box of rocks. I don't understand why he would even be involved in any of that decision-making at all. But apparently he is. And I thought, oh man, I mean, that guy just seems stupid. Like, I mean, when you have to sign a contract and the contract states that you have to do a certain amount of film study each week, that says something. Clearly, he ain't doing his homework. So, okay. Anyways, but I just think that's kind of a funny conversation. I mean, like, why would he want to be part of the decision making? Anyways, who knows? Looking for an offensive coordinator candidates, right? You're looking for leadership, number one, looking for someone to really connect with the group, get them to play a certain way, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't want to go too deep into that. I'm going to give you my opinion on this. I'm going to read between the lines because I listened to everything he said twice. Look, again, what I don't want is Lombardi 2.0. I don't want, and again, he said a couple things here that kind of frustrated me. It would take me a little while to find it. I don't know if I could find it here. A lot of the people on the list of the coordinators that are potential candidates to be interviewed are very much Lombardi 2.0s, right? They worked with Sean Payton. They understand the Saints offense. And I'm like, oh my God, please, no. I want somebody new and fresh. I want a fresh take on the offense. And I just hope, like, then why fire Lombardi then if that's what you're going to do? I mean, what's the point? Like, if you hire the same type of guy, what's the point of firing Lombardi? Like, there's just no point, right? We'll just stick with him then, And I want a fresh set of eyes. And again, what I also want is Brandon Staley to stop being involved in the offensive side of the ball. I want the offensive coordinator to run the offense. And again, I do think that what happened at the bye week, Brandon Staley started micromanaging a little bit of Lombardi in the second half. And sadly, Lombardi was probably a bit of a fall guy, right? I hate to say it, he probably was, right? I mean, Staley had to show some sort of action, some sort of, hey, this is our problem. This is why we're here. And we didn't have the best defense either, right? 2 years in a row, we haven't had the best defense. I mean, that's 110% on Brandon Staley. And again, why did we not let go of Ronaldo Hill? Well, Ronaldo Hill is not calling the plays. Brandon Staley is calling the plays. So what's the point of even having Ronaldo Hill? I mean, good question. So again, there's a lot of things we could look at on all this. And so to me, I really sit back and think, okay, it's tough, man. I mean, but like I said, one more year, guys, and that's it. It's tough. It's tough. We need a guy to come in and do things different, make things different, run, pass, offense. Again, what we've always done well in, the Chargers organization is the play action pass. We were horrible at that this year because nobody respected our run. So you bring in a guy that can maybe, the running game. I know my brother James is very big on the offensive coordinator for the Ravens who just left. He's been there for 8 years. Obviously, have a great running game. So he might be a good person to come in. So again, he doesn't care if he's young, old, doesn't matter, whatever. Clearly, they just want to find somebody different. Now, what I would want to see, and again, I'm just going to say this. Okay, and again, Herbert talks quite a bit about this right here. So I don't want to go too deep into this too. But what I would want is whoever is hired, whoever is interviewed, we'll even say that, whoever's interviewed, I would want Herbert in the room, and I would want Herbert to be very clear about what he wants and what he thinks would be best for this team or best for himself. Okay, what are the things that would make him great? Again, the argument you can make is, Tom Brady was Mr. Irrelevant, right? I mean, look at Brock Purdy. He's Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, he's killing it with a very simple scheme. Okay. The problem is with Lombardi's offensive scheme, Justin Herbert had to do it all. He really did. There was no real scheming people open, right? You see what the Dolphins are doing, what the Niners are doing. They're making it simple for them to perform. And a guy like a Justin Herbert, I mean, dude, you get a decent running game with him and then start scheming some people open here. I mean, game is over, guys. It's not going to be a problem anymore. And so that's what we were lacking. We were lacking easy plays, easy wins, easy plays to move the chains. We just did not have anything like that drawn up. It was just the same type of stuff. So again, Justin Herbert's going to be he'll have his input in determining who the next offensive coordinator will be. Now, I'm going to read between the lines here a little bit, guys. I'm going to do a little speculation. I'm going to do a little speculating here because I think what probably happened, I heard there was a rumor that I heard that the owners were meeting with the players without the coaches. My belief is in that meeting, it's probably what came out that they weren't happy with Lombardi, and maybe even Shane Day. And so I think that's ultimately what was their demise. And then they probably met with Brandon Staley. And the thing about Brandon Staley is a very loyal head coach. It was clear he did not want to let anybody go. But at the end of the day, he had to make a decision as a head coach. And it was a tough decision. It was not easy. But again, I promise you it's probably what happened. Maybe Spanos pulled him aside. Hey, what do you think? What do you want to do? This is what we're thinking about doing. What are your thoughts on that? And knowing Justin Herbert, at least from what I can tell, he probably still didn't throw Lombardi under the bus. Okay. Football players do not throw their coaches under the bus. They made a mistake, whatever. They don't do that. I mean, you're not going to be in the league very long. Look at Colin Kaepernick, right? You don't play ball. You don't fall in line. You're gone. And that's exactly why Colin Kaepernick's not in the league. So, that's not what the players are supposed to do. They're supposed to go out there and play the game. But what we want as fans is we want a competent offensive coordinator that can make the most out of Justin Herbert. That's what I want to see. Right? I want to see an offensive coordinator that can make that man better. And to me, that's all I care about. That's all I care about. The offensive coordinator that comes in needs to make Justin Herbert the best version of Justin Herbert. Because you think about him as a person, right? Walk on in Oregon. He was like 4th string for forever. Comes on, injury, gets back on the field, kills it. And he's just been it feels like his actual potential still has not even been met at this point, right? Like there's still like another level of production that this man has. And so, I go back to Ben Roethlisberger, right? And with the Saints or the Steelers, Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger was not a great quarterback. Okay. I remember an interview with him, like his first or second year, and he talked about, oh man, when I first got out there, I just knew I knew where one person was going the entire time, and I just tried to just throw him open, and I didn't know really what was happening on the other side of the field or anything. And it was clear that he was a bit over his head. But the thing is, the Steelers did a great job of building a team around him that did not need to rely on him to succeed. That's what the Chargers had these past 2 years. Everything was on Justin Herbert's shoulders. And think about that for just a second. If you're a player and you realize that the entire game, winning and losing, is on your shoulders, how does that make you feel? It's tough. It's tough. And again, win or lose, he's always going to blame himself. You know that. But the problem is you need a cast or a team around him to be successful, right? And again, I would even argue the offensive line wasn't that amazing this season. Our running game was horrible, but he was very good at wiggling around in the pocket or maneuvering the pocket so he wouldn't get sacked. So he made his offensive line look better, right? I mean, Filer had an off season. Anyways, guys, I can talk about this all day. And I probably should do a deeper, wider video on this. But again, it will be interesting to see who they choose. And we're obviously going to do video as soon as that is announced, and we'll go from there. So I think they're going to take their time. I would be very shocked if a decision was made very quickly. But we'll probably do a video maybe early next week on potential candidates and kind of go from there. So any rate, I don't want to go too deep into it. Okay. Again, message to the fans, kind of covered that already. I don't really want to go too deep into that. I mean, it's pretty lengthy. Again, disappointed, wants to win a championship. You know, he does. I do not want to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars second half. That's kind of frustrating. Anyways, past few days. So this goes into what I kind of think that, when we start talking about offensive coordinators, I really think we need a guy. This is partially why I wanted Shane Day to be our guy at the bye week. Again, he's let go, which is really interesting. But Shane Day at least came from the Niners system, and they understand how to rush the ball. They're a rush first team, like the Ravens, like the Steelers, like a lot of these different teams. And we have good running backs. Like Joshua Kelly's good. I think, I think Spiller would be very good if we could get him up. Whatever happened with him, I have no idea still to some degree. But Roundtree I still think is very good. And, whatever we're doing, again, what I saw, and again, I could do some film breakdown on this potentially in the offseason, was very vanilla run plays, right? Halfback dive right, halfback dive left, trap right, or zone read running, whatever, just whatever gap is open, go for it. I just felt like there was a lot of very simple running plays, right? Nothing was unusual or interesting or made that defense have to do anything different. He specifically talks about that a few times. I don't know if he talks about it here or it's way up. I mean, this is a very lengthy video, but he basically said, in short, big reason why they let Lombardi go is we weren't dictating what the defense could do. I go back to the game we played against the Niners. If you recall, the second half, we got shut down. Guess what? Fred Warner said one thing. Hey, we ran the same defensive play the entire second half, and we shut them down. Guys, that is a problem. Again, if you have an offense that's rushing the ball and passing the ball correctly, you start to have to pick and choose. Okay, are they going to rush the ball on first down? Ooh, okay, no, they're not. Oh, okay, well, we're in a run formation. We just got burned. Okay, well, what are we doing now? That's when the defensive coordinator starts overthinking what they have to do, and then you could catch people off guard and get singles. And again, single coverage. Joe Lombardi never made adjustments ever, never. And that was his downfall. And so, again, the rushing attack needs to be available, and the passing attack will be there because we got Justin Herbert and we got good wide receivers. We're going to talk quite a bit about some of the players that we may or may not be keeping moving forward, but I think there's some things that we want to discuss because there is some news out there that I think is pretty interesting. I've already been reading some speculation stuff out there, but guys, there's money involved in this, right? And again, we got to pay Justin Herbert. So what's the question, right? How do we pay this man? And we got to figure out how to pay him somehow. And, you're looking at, a pretty sizable amount of money that he's going to get paid. So it's going to be very interesting to see. So, but again, on the rushing attack, look, if you want to be a line of scrimmage team, you have to find that identity. And again, we did not make that happen at all. I mean, we had maybe 2 or 3 games this entire season that we were halfway decent at the line. It was horrible. There's tons of room for improvement. I don't want to go through any of that. Defense, down the stretch, we played well. I think we did well down the stretch. Unfortunately, I don't think, I think that's where the team kind of came together. I think there was a lot of things that happened, but I think we lost. There was something that was lost in that last game. I just feel like, we just did not have, I think they just thought it was in the bag. They came out, all right, well, let's just go wrap this baby up and just didn't work out. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep into all this, what he said in the locker room, all the above. Again, I don't want to go too deep into it. Let's just end it here. All right, so let me give you my final thoughts. Look, guys, this was a tough loss. I mean, I could sit back all day and make excuses for this coaching staff and say, hey, they can take another year. Look, it's entirely within your right to be angry, frustrated, kill Lombardi, fire Staley, hang Telesco, whatever you want to say. Fine. Say what you want. Everyone has an opinion. It's fine. And everyone's opinion is valid and everyone's opinions matter. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay. It's your opinion. It's fine. But look, at the end of the day, he's going to be our coach this next season. They're going to find an offensive coordinator. We're going to give you content to talk more about that, let you know kind of what our thoughts on it. and have a discussion, right? I mean, it's 90% of why we do this. We want to have a discussion with you folks and continue to, engage with you on this team. But again, so we are going to be going back to the format of lives on Sunday. Hopefully all 3 Bolt Bros will be there. If not, we'll try and bring on a special guest, kind of working through the format on that, but plan us on every Sunday. That's kind of our longer format live videos, and we'll do vignettes all through the week. When news comes out that we find interesting or we want to discuss, probably do some draft updates. As the offseason can get a little stale-ish, right? And since we don't have any anybody in the playoffs anymore that we care about at this moment, we don't need to watch a whole lot of football at this point, right? I mean, come on. Why torture ourselves? Anyways, Andrew, Bolt Bros here. See you guys in the next one.